What's up, guys? Today, of course, here's the Battlefield 1 aggressive sniping tutorial. Before we get started today, if you're brand new to the series or are wanting to learn how to use a sniper rifle because you've used the medic class your whole life, you should first see my general sniping tutorial to give you better tips and tricks on like general positioning, general aiming, because it provides the building blocks for this video. It will be linked in the description. Go back, master the basics of that video, come back to this one, and then you can learn aggressive sniping with a much more solid base. If you've played Battlefield games before and you consider yourself a good sniper but you'd like to get better at being an aggressive sniper, stay tuned to the video and we'll start. Well, actually, before we get started, I wanted to sort of get one little thing off my chest. It seems like everyone has a different definition of what constitutes aggressive sniping. Some people believe you have to be within arm's reach of someone at all times or it's not aggressive. Some people think up to 100 meters can be aggressive. Personally, I think it stresses mobility more so than distance. I think you can be just as aggressive a sniper at 25 to 50 meters as those that think the definition of it's 5 meters away. I think it's mobility. So we all have a different subjective definition. Of course, let me know yours. So let's get into it. First things first. If you're new to this, you're going to die, and you're going to die a lot. Don't let that anger frustrate you, or it'll only get worse as you learn. When you die, get used to why you or analyze why you died and try and get better at it. So when you look at why you died, think of it this way. Were you shot at from a different angle you didn't account for? Did you miss the first shot that you usually absolutely need to hit in aggressive sniping? Are you using the wrong weapon? Something that has way too long a reload or bolt cycling time versus something that would have made a lot more sense in a much faster reload cycling time. So not only do you have to account for those, you're going to have to build up situational awareness, positioning, quick twitch skill. It all takes time to master. Stick with it, don't get tilted. And again, if you're brand new, go back, watch my other tutorial to teach you all the basics for this. So let's get started. First things first, the basics. In Battlefield 1, all snipers are one-hit kill weapons on headshots, but new to Battlefield 1, most of the weapons have sweet spots, or a range where landing a body shot chest and above is a one-hit kill. All of the weapons also have multiple variants, so when you see the term rifleman for a rifle, it just means that that weapon doesn't have a scope. If it's a regular sniper rifle with iron sights. And actually, that's pretty good for most aggressive sniping too. But of course, it depends on the individual weapon you're using because each has a different range. If you're looking at the sharpshooter variant or say the marksman variant, more than likely it's sort of a medium to long range variant of sniper rifle. It'll probably have like a 4 or a 6 times scope attached to it. And lastly, the sniper or marksman variant, which of course comes with a bipod and a long range scope of like 8 to 10 times. You can decide the style you want, and each can be customized, so it's not a big deal. If you're doing more aggressive sniping, though, inside of 50 meters, the 8 and 10 times scopes are probably overkill. But again, I used to use 8 times for aggressive sniping all the time in Battlefield 4, so if you're used to it, it doesn't matter, as long as it works for you. In terms of my favorites for sniping, I tend to choose these weapons as follows. And again, I'll post full reviews for them if you want to check out full reviews other than these little quick breakdowns I'm about to give you. So, strangely, I actually really like the Gewehr M.95. It's probably my favorite sniper rifle in the game. I usually equip the 5 times sight for the aggressive sniping and then just go to town. It has a one-hit kill range of 80 to 120 meters, but it allows me to transition between being up close in your face and sort of dropping back to 80 meters as well. That's why I like it. It's versatile. You can transition between ranges no problem. And it has a fast bolt cycling speed and very fast bullet velocity. It's one of those extreme jack of all trade, master of nones. It has a slow fire rate, but other than that, it's very good overall. It doesn't really have a huge weakness that makes you say, okay, I'm not using that weapon. Next up, the Gewehr M.95. I'd say it's probably my favorite aggressive sniper rifle in the game. What's unique about it, though, is it doesn't have a one-hit kill range. It tops out at 90 damage no matter where you are on the field. But it has an extremely fast rate of fire. It has an extreme bolt cycling speed, very good bolt cycling speed, and reload speed. Pair this with a good sidearm and you're going to be in business, especially inside of 50 meters. The SMLE Mark III Marksman, MK3 Marksman. It's a favorite of the community, and again another jack-of-all-trades weapon that has a much better damage model than most, because from 40 to 80 meters it's a one-shot kill on a body shot, so it's good inside of that range. It also has the largest magazine size of the rifles, but again, when you're comparing, say, bullet velocity, reload speeds, etc., it's very middle of the pack. There are far better options in pretty much if you're looking for aggressive or longer range sniping. So it's a middleman, but there's nothing really wrong with it. So if I had to pick one weapon right now for aggressive sniping, it would probably be one of those two, the Gewehr M.95 or the SMLE Mark III Marksman. They both offer the right balance of fast reload, fast bullet rechambering, and relatively quick fire rates. Once you choose the aggressive weapon, decide if you're going to go with a scope or iron sights. That's up to you. I personally like the 5x though, so that way I can traverse between quick scoping inside of 5 to 10 meters and being fine at 50 meters. In terms of attachments for the weapons, I usually equip a bayonet so that if I miss or someone's charging at me, I can charge him and stab him. You don't need a bipod, of course, because, I mean, if you're aggressive sniping, what are you doing on the ground? In terms of sidearms, which are your best friend as a sniper, and I'll cover this more in a bit, especially as an aggressive one, I really like the standard M1911. I'm still exploring more options for sidearms, but the M1911, again, in terms of balance, offers high damage, quick fire rate, and relatively low amounts of recoil. With regard to equipment, I like the spotting flare as my first choice. You get 2 shots, they linger around for a while, they highlight enemies inside of a 25 meter radius or so, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I haven't actually properly measured it. And since they can be fired from a gun, it's as close to an MAV as possible as you're going to get in the game. Just shoot it at the ground, there you go, the radius is lit up. You don't even need to be in the area to plant one either, because you can just shoot it in the sky. It's awesome. It helps you and your team immensely by spotting everything. So use it before you enter an area. You'll have an idea of where the enemy is. You're already off to a good start. The second piece of equipment varies, of course, because I'm still experimenting. My personal choice would probably be either K rounds in case I'm forced to face a hero enemy and I need that extra damage. Or I'd probably end up choosing something like even the spotting scope, because I know you're probably going to say, why would you choose that? It's not for close range. But it can be, because say you die, you spawn back at your spawn, which is 50, 75 meters away. If you use the scope to spot in, you could have a general idea of where the enemy's going to be before you even make your way into the area. So it's planning ahead. It's not bad considering. You can also use traps if you want to hold down one specific close quarters area. That's up to you. In terms of grenades, I like gas grenades for playing aggressively, because I can, if say I'm playing Rush and I'm going toward an MCOM, I could toss 2 at once and gas the area. Or, like I said in my previous other video, you can sort of stagger them out. Toss one when they put on their masks, and then when it starts to clear out, you toss another, and you can kill them while they're putting their masks back on again. You can use an incendiary grenade too by flushing people out of the area. The only problem is that you can't really push into that area quickly after, because you're going to get burnt to death. So, pros and cons, I guess, to it. Lastly, in terms of melee weapons, again, like I said in my previous video, there aren't a ton of differences between them, but try to pick one with some perks enclosed. So I like the hatchet because the buzzsaw icon allows you to hack through wood, meaning shutters can be busted out to give you a new vantage point. And the barbed wire icon on them too means that you can cut the barbed wire. So if you're trying to advance through an area and you have to go around barbed wire, or you can't jump over it, just cut it. Helps you and your team immensely. So without further ado, let's get into the tips. When you're playing as a sniper, you first have the choice of going solo or playing with your team. Going solo can be effective if you're either extremely good and a little bit lucky, or if you stay as a ghost behind enemy lines. If you stay with your squad, however, being an aggressive sniper on the front line, you have incredible ways of not only being more effective, but making your team better as well. You'll be able to get more kills. You'll be able to keep your teammates alive. Even if you hit 1 or 2 shots that don't kill the guy, your teammates will probably finish them off. There's 2 kills for you. And you'll be an overall more effective unit. Of course, like I said before, spotting, taking care of or using equipment, all infinitely useful tools. Take advantage of them out on the battlefield. Next, of course, sensitivity. You could practice this in game or an empty server, but because it's quite subjective, it means that what works for me might not work for you. The obvious point, though, is to find something to maintain accuracy as well as being utilitarian as a whole on the battlefield. You could choose a lower sensitivity, but especially for aggressive sniping, I find that medium to higher sensitivities tend to work better because, well, you'll be in areas that are unpredictable. Sometimes even if you scouted out an area as best you could, sometimes an enemy will just pop up at 90 degrees to your flank and you have to make a quick twitch shot. More than likely, if you have an extremely low sensitivity, that's going to be very difficult, especially if you don't have a large mouse pad or you're on a low DPI. You'd be moving your whole arm across the desk. Or on console, it's just using the sticks is going to be a lot more difficult if you have a low sensitivity. You will not get the kill going slowly on a guy that's already shooting at you. So, and again, I've always been on the higher sensitivity side of things, but I use a 17 sensitivity at 800 DPI on PC and 20% on console. You'll definitely want the ability to at least look 90 to 180 degrees on your flanks. Some people stress 360 degrees, but if someone's already behind you, you probably deserve to die anyway. So, again, let's emphasize a sort of medium-ish sensitivity so that way you can make quick twitch adjustments on all sorts of different angles, because if you're playing aggressive sniping, even the best, you're not going to be able to account for all angles at all times. It's just not possible. You could play with a low sensitivity as well, but the thing is you're going to have to compensate for that lack of ability to cover all angles and quick twitch by sort of staying in a general area and looking in that area. But again, it's up to you. There's the trade-off of if someone does get behind you, you're completely screwed. Next, map and situational awareness. Your mini-map is key, and make sure you use it a lot. I use it about 50% of the time I'm staring at the screen because it gives you so much information. You can tell where the enemy is, where they're facing, how many there are, potential guaranteed lose situations such as facing a vehicle, where you are toward the objectives, your teammates toward the objectives, and it gives you an idea of where the enemy is and where they'll be attacking next. With regard to maps, be aware of hotspots, choke points, the layouts of the maps, and of course you can use all the info above to flank the enemy or provide extra support to those on the front lines. And again, emphasizes going back and using the importance of equipment and spotting in tandem with the minimap. Most important, what's different as opposed to traditional, less aggressive sniping is the speed and dangers associated with either being continually on the move or frequently being in areas that you can be shot at from multiple angles. So, you'll want to minimize angles as frequently as possible. Also, last point with the minimap, be careful when you spawn in. I've regularly had this problem aggressive sniping just because it's a terrible habit, I know, but I regularly have this problem of trying to get back in the action ASAP, especially if I died, and it ends up getting me killed more often than not because I spawn in a teammate that's in way too much trouble. So sometimes the best action is to simply spawn back on an objective or where like the spawns are at the start and take that walk of shame. I call it the walk of shame, getting back to the objectives. It gives you the option to survey the area as well on the way back to that area. Every time you shoot, you'll want to be either stationary or not moving much, if at all. When you move, your bullets will have deviation and it won't go where the crosshairs suggest. With aggressive sniping, hip fire accuracy now counts an awful lot more as surprise encounters will happen. Make sure your weapon has good hip fire accuracy and that you practice this skill a little bit, or quite a bit I should say actually. Surprise encounters, like I said, they happen quite a bit, so you're going to have to get used to hip firing and quick scoping. Inside of about 20 meters or so though, you won't have to worry about moving too much. It may even save you as you're now a harder target if you keep moving, but be aware that if you missed a shot, this is probably why. Next, your sidearm, like I said earlier, is your best friend, and like my other sniping tutorial, this goes doubly so for aggressive sniping. For most weapons, especially if you're in very close, if you don't hit a headshot, it's not a one-shot kill, so immediately after getting a hit marker, switch quick to your sidearm and finish the job. Most cases you probably won't get a one-hit kill, so again, like I said, that's sort of the point of it. Make sure you choose one you're comfortable with, not necessarily something that, say, regular, even YouTubers such as myself might suggest. Make sure you find one for yourself. I like the M1911, and generally I like the 2-hit, 3-hit kill sort of 44 Magnum type weapons as well, but I haven't seen a ton of those as of yet, so we'll get to them as I unlock more and practice more with sidearms. But the M1911 is still going to be one of my mainstays, I can already tell. I really like it. Cover, of course, is important for all classes in all FPS games, but it's doubly so for an aggressive sniper. You must have some form of cover around you at all times, and you absolutely need an escape route or two at all times too. Keep in mind, every encounter you're almost certainly going to be dealing with someone who has full auto weaponry, so a miss is extremely bad for you. When you're moving, don't rush out, look ahead, check for enemies, look for an area with some cover, and then move. That way, if you're surprised by an enemy, that cover will give you a fighting chance. Clear one area, push up, clear to the next. Don't run around aimlessly. And the next point I have too is with regard to sprinting, sorry. If you're sprinting around a lot, good chances are that by the time you actually stop sprinting, aim in and shoot. If someone was already stopped and aiming, you're dead. So if you're making... The only time you should really be sprinting, I'd say, is probably if you need to go from a cover-to-cover area or if you're in trouble and need to get a getaway. Otherwise, sort of walk between areas, check to see if there's anyone, or if you're rounding around a corner, make sure you stop, check, then go out, then sprint. So basically the general gist is only sprint if you really know with a really high percentage of confidence that there won't be somebody out there. Otherwise, well, that's it. You're dead. You'll be on the respawn screen. When you do decide to move, center your reticle toward an area you believe the enemy may challenge you, and do so around chest to head level. The logic behind this is to reduce the time and amount you have to move the reticle to accurately aim and shoot the target. The faster you get your scope onto the target, the more likely you are to win that gunfight. So, in addition to having fast reflexes, because you don't need super fast reflexes to be superb at aggressive sniping. In addition to fast reflexes, being able to have good intuition as to where the enemy will be, you'll stand a really good shot in every gunfight. If you're looking to slow down or stand still if you were already playing somewhat aggressive, you can begin by scoping in during this slow down process, which actually saves you milliseconds in shooting time. And if you're looking to hip fire, if someone pops up, make sure you come to a stop or that bullet's going to fly. It will not be on target. With regard to positioning, I like staying back from the main area itself and survey what I'll be facing, then push toward an objective or flank behind a bunch of enemies. The reason behind staying back at first goes back to what I was saying previously. It allows you the option to potentially flank behind enemy lines, as some teams sort of get tunnel vision, especially toward an objective, and they tend to stare at the area with the most attention. And knowing this, you can attack from the sides when they're not really prepped for it. I don't usually spawn on my squad a lot of the time in circumstances where I get into trouble. I usually make my way down from the spawn to gather myself if I'm not really too sure what the enemy is doing. If you're engaged in a duel or a firefight against someone who also sees you, as opposed to the quick undetected kill, this is the one instance where you'll want to stay mobile. Be careful about jumping though, because you can't fire when you're in the air. When I mean mobile, I mean strafing back and forth, strafing side to side, and even crouching between shots. The idea is to make yourself a much harder target, because a bullet or two missed sometimes means survival. If it's in close range, switching to a sidearm like I suggested, or perhaps even melee charging the enemy might actually be the best route instead of trying to rechamber around and shoot again. Just make sure you don't develop a pattern with your strafing. Intelligent enemies will absolutely figure it out and use it against you. If you're in a bad spot or you get hit first in an aggressive sniper duel, make sure you just try to get out of there as opposed to engaging the enemy. If there's no cover or no escape, switch to a sidearm and hope for the best in trying to gun him down. But getting into that scenario will not favor you much at all, so that's the ideal, is to avoid situations like that. Also, of course, it goes without saying, but try to avoid 2-on-1 encounters as well unless they have no idea you're there. Instead, relocate, take cover until your health regenerates, or even just completely abandon the engagement and try and flank that enemy from another side, or if he suddenly has a numbers advantage with a couple people to his flanks, forget it. Go to a new area. This area here is not going to help you out. In terms of aggressive sniping, and this is the difference between just like regular sniping, flanking, and I've emphasized this quite a bit, I know, but it's absolutely paramount. If you could stay as a ghost or behind the enemy lines where they can't see you, you're at a serious advantage. If you're getting into one-on-one encounter gunfights, by the time you kill one guy, or two-on-one encounters, by the time you kill one guy, odds are the other guy's going to know you're there, you're probably going to be weak, and all he has to do is fire a round or two and you're dead. So staying behind enemy lines and flanking will absolutely improve your game. So lastly, when you're starting out, push yourself out of your comfort zone. Like I said, you're going to die a lot. You might as well try and improve yourself while you do so. Being aggressive will allow you to build skill in movement, situational awareness, target acquisition, and improve your quick twitch skills. If you can acquire a target under duress, a lot of the time it's quite easy to shoot when all of a sudden, as long as you don't panic, because like I said in my previous video, sometimes when things are too quiet or things are going too well, I panic because I'm like, what the hell's going on? Someone's got to be around. And it turns out there's no one around. I could have just took my time picking off those 3 guys. So, and again, like I said earlier, if you're starting out and you want to get better at aggressive sniping, push with your teammates first and play the objectives. Because even if you're doing horribly, you're still going to be helping out the team. But again, expect to struggle quite a bit until you get the hang of it and then start being aggressive. So you could start going a little bit more solo, pushing behind enemy lines, and then after that, you'll start seeing the successful rewards. So again, if this video helped you out, please leave a like, consider subscribing for more tutorials, share on social media, Reddit, other different platforms. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.